Well, that kind of leads me into my next question, ZKS. So as of right now, we've seen a few of these Pac-12 contenders play each other. We've already seen Utah play USC and beat them. We saw Oregon play UCLA and beat them. Of those teams, which of the two of those four do you think is going to make the Pac-12 championship game?
I have a natty ticket on USC, so I have financial stake in them gaining. I also drafted them in our team draft. So what I wrote in my notes is UCLA because I like their back half schedule. They have Stanford, ASU, Arizona, and USC. Those all might be at home. And then Cal. Regardless, you get the toughest of that you've got at home. The winner of USC, UCLA, they're going to Pac-12 championship. So I know it sounds like I'm punting there. They're going to championship, and then again, Oregon could slip up and still make it. So you could see either a rematch or the first meeting of Oregon USC. But I'm leaving Utah out of my trio there. So those are my three.
So if I had to say right now, I think the game we just saw this Saturday, I think that's going to be the Pac-12 championship game. If I had to call it like I see it right now, and Oregon has a huge advantage right now because UCLA, Utah, and USC, they all have one loss in conference play. Oregon's the only Pac-12 team that doesn't have a conference loss. So on one hand, you look at Oregon's schedule here, they arguably have the toughest schedule of those four teams remaining. They have Cal, Colorado, which should be wins, but then they got Washington, Utah, and then at Oregon State, Civil War to end the year. That's kind of rough. Those last three games are going to be kind of tough, and I could totally see them getting clipped in maybe one of those games. But because they're the only team that doesn't have a loss right now, they can afford to lose one of those games.
Yes.
So maybe they run the table, but even if they don't, they can afford a loss here. So I would expect Oregon to probably get back. And then as far as the other teams, UCLA already has a head-to-head win over Utah. Utah, I don't know, man. Utah is a little suspect this year. They're not quite as good as I would have thought. They do have that head-to-head win over USC, which looks very good. But if you look at USC's schedule, USC and UCLA have the easiest schedules remaining. It's a bunch of Cals and Stanfords and Arizona States and Arizonas remaining, and then they play each other. But that game is at UCLA. So I think that UCLA, if I had to call it right now, I think they would beat USC head-to-head, and I would say UCLA and Oregon rematch in the Pac-12 championship game. So those are my two teams as of right now.
I could absolutely see that happening. But to put a bow on it, if UCLA had the home field advantage of like an LSU or an Oklahoma State, maybe I'd give that a little more credence. But considering they have as much fan buy-in as like Miami, and they're good too, which is the kicker, that's what I need to see. If the UCLA fans show up to the Rose Bowl in a rivalry game, ready to bring it, then yes, that's going to be a very hostile environment for the Trojans to deal with.
I think they will. If it's USC, I think they will, especially if the stakes are that high and those two teams win out to that point. I think they will.
Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride. Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.